Hi there. We talked today in class about ratios, rates, and conversions, and so I've picked 5 problems to demonstrate what we were doing in class with the conversions. And so if you are watching this, you should have this worksheet. If you don't have this worksheet, it'll be uploaded onto my website. In addition, we passed out a conversion table here. It looks like this. It's a little quarter sheet paper. If you don't have one, let me know. I'll get one to you as soon as possible. But these conversions are common conversions as well, so they're ones you could look up just by typing into Google. Okay, so we're taking a look here at number 2. We were asked to take 528 centimeters and convert that into yards. And so we're going to start with that 528 centimeters, what I was originally given. And what we are constructing here are a series of fractions where the numerator and denominator of the fraction are equal to 1. And we're going to multiply all those fractions together and multiply those fractions to my original. And through that multiplication process, we'll be converting from centimeters to yards. And so in my setup here, I have 528 centimeters, and I'm not given another quantity, so this is going to be over 1, because 528 divided by 1 is 528. So that 1 doesn't change my number in any way, which is why I put it over 1. Okay, and so then we're going to be looking at what fractions, what equality statements can I use to start moving from centimeters to yards. And so that's where my conversion table is going to come in handy. I'm going to be looking here, starting at centimeters, how can I move to that yards? I know yards is an English system or a U.S. system measurement, right? Yards, feet, inches. So I'm going to be looking to see, can I get into that English system? Because centimeters is a metric system. And so that's what I'm going to be first looking at. How can I get from the metric to the English? And that's where this table down here comes in handy. Down here I notice this one, that the 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, and so that's going to be my step. That's how I'm going to be able to get from centimeters, which is metric, over into the U.S. system of inches. And from inches, I know I'm going to be able to get to yards, because that's all the U.S. system. Okay, and so with that equality statement, that's going to be my first fraction. One of these is going to go on top, one of these is going to go on bottom. And which one goes where depends on my current unit. My current unit is centimeters here, and I want my fraction for the other centimeters that I'm going to be using to end up down here, because that's going to allow me to cross simplify. Right? And so in my fraction here, I'm going to put this 2.54 centimeters in the bottom so that my centimeters here can cross off. And the 1 inch, which is the other part of my equality statement, is going to go on top. Okay, so again, units, we're always going to set them diagonal from each other. Okay, but I'm only in inches. I need to get over here to yards. And so I'm going to be looking, okay, what can be my next step to get from inches to yards? Well, when I look here, I notice that 12 inches is 1 foot. And so I'm going to go ahead and take that, and I'm going to put that into my fraction form. 1 goes on top, 1 goes on bottom. In this case, I want the inches to be diagonal so that I can cross them off. And so I'm going to take that 12 inches and I'm going to put that in the bottom. And that's going to allow those inches to cross simplify. And the 1 foot, which is the other part of my fraction, will go in the numerator. Okay, and so I'm almost there. I'm at feet. I want to get to yards. Well, when I look just underneath that prior fraction, I now have 3 feet equals 1 yard, which will allow me to move from the feet that I'm at over here into the yards I want. And so 1's going to go on top, 1's going to go on bottom. 3 feet is going to go in the denominator, because again, I want my feet to be diagonal from each other. And my 1 yard is going to go on top. And so from there, I've now moved from centimeters into the yards that I want. To complete this problem, we multiply across. 528 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 528. And the units that I'm left with here in the numerator are yards. And in the denominator, I'm going to go 1 times 2.54 times 12 times 3. So go ahead and take a moment and do that. So we have 2.54 times 12 times 3. And if I look at my units then, denominator, there's no unit left, so there's no unit over here. I'm going to take that and I'm going to divide that 528 divided by the 2,286 over 25. Same thing as multiplying by a reciprocal, right? Divided by a fraction is multiplying by a reciprocal. And so we're going to get 5.774, and I'll go ahead and round there to the nearest thousandth. And then my unit is yards. Okay. Number 4 here, we're asked to go from 12 meters to centimeters, and so I'm going to start with the 12 meters I was given, and that's over 1. And I'm going to be looking at my conversion table saying, how can I get from meters to centimeters? Well, this one's a fast one because 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. And so then which one goes in the bottom? Well, meters are already in the top, so I need meters in the bottom so I can cross them out. So that 1 meter is going to go down here. And 100 centimeters on top. So 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. And then you multiply 12 times 100. It's 1200. Centimeters is left on top. Over 1 times 1 is 1. And 1200 divided by 1 is 1200 centimeters. Okay. Number 7 then, we're going from 10 pounds to grams, and so I'm going to go ahead and start with the 10 pounds that I was originally given. And we're saying, okay, how can I get from 10 pounds to grams? Well, similarly, pounds is a US measurement, grams is a metric measurement, and so I need to make sure that at some point I'll be switching systems, which means this bottom table is again going to come in handy. And when I look down here, I see there's 2 routes I could possibly go. I could get my pounds down to ounces and then go to grams, or I could turn pounds into kilograms and then go from kilograms to grams. Either route will work, right? So you just need to choose which one you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and use this top one, the pounds and kilograms one. Okay, so 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. So the 2.2 pounds is going to go in the denominator because, again, I want my units diagonal. And the 1 kilogram will go on top. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and extend this a little bit, and we'll be looking to get from that kilogram that we're currently at to the grams, which is where we want to be. In kilograms, 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams, and so that's going to be my last fraction here. That 1 kilogram will go in the denominator so that my units can cancel. And the 1,000 grams will go in the numerator. And now I've turned from pounds to grams. Okay, so again, we multiply across the top. 10 times 1 times 1,000 is 10,000. Grams is the unit left in the numerator. In the denominator, we have 1 times 2.2 times 1, which is 2.2. There are no units in the denominator. And when you take that 10,000 and divide it by that 2.2, you're going to get 4,545.45 repeating grams. Okay, so I've picked 2 more here. These ones are all more on the basic side because you're just converting from 1 unit to a second unit. You have sometimes statements that will have, like in number 12 and 15, 2 units that will be converting potentially to 2 different units. And so taking a look here, we're going to start with number 12. Number 12, we are given 9 gallons per second. And so I'm going to start the same way I did with the problems above, with that 9 gallons. Oops, that should be a 9, sorry. 9 gallons. But now, instead of just putting a 1 on the bottom, it's still going to be a 1, but it's going to be a 1 second. Because I do have a second unit now. And I'm going to be looking to get from gallons per second over to quarts per minute. And which one you change first doesn't matter. Again, you just need to choose, right? And so I'm going to go ahead personally and change the seconds to minutes first, because that's the one that in my mind's the most straightforward. We've been looking at time for, years at this point. Okay, and so to get from seconds to minutes, I have to ask myself, well, what's that quantity? Because it's not going to be on my table here, because that's something we should know. Right? There are 60 seconds in a minute. And so that's going to be what I'm using for my fraction. In this one, seconds are already in the denominator, and so when I set this up, I'm going to make sure that that seconds ends up here in the numerator so that my units can cancel. And the 1 minute will end up in the denominator. Okay, so minute, check, I'm there. I now have to get gallons to quarts, and so here's where my table is going to come in handy. I'm going to be looking, okay, what can I do to get from gallons to quarts? When I look at my table here, I notice 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. And so that's going to be the fraction I'm going to use here. Gallon is already in the numerator, so I'm going to put the 1 gallon piece of my fraction in the denominator. And the 4 quarts will be in the numerator. So now I'm at quarts. Okay, and so now we're going to multiply across. 9 times 60 times 4. 9 times 60 times 4. I should get 2,160 quarts is the unit in my numerator. In my denominator down here, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And minutes is the unit left over in my denominator. And so 2,160 divided by 1 is 2,160. Okay. Number 15 is similar. We're going to get from miles per hour to meters per minute. So I'm going to start with setting this up. We have 10 miles. But again, with this one, I have that second unit. And so when I put my denominator, I'm going to make sure I put 1 hour. And then I need to change miles to meters and hours to minutes. Again, you get to choose which one you're going to do first. I'm going to go ahead and do time first again. I know that in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. And so that's going to be the fraction I'm going to be utilizing for this conversion. Hour is already in the denominator, so I'm going to put the 1 hour of my fraction up here in the numerator so that the units can cancel. And the 60 minutes will go in the denominator, and so now I'm at minutes. With that miles, I need to get from miles to meters, and so again, I'm going to be making a system change here. Miles is a US English system, meters is a metric system, and so at some point we're going to be using this bottom table, right? And I notice here, so miles and meters, I could go meters to feet, right? Or actually it would be technically feet to meters, right? I'd go from miles to feet and then over to meters. Or I have a miles and kilometer one, right? Which means I could go from miles to kilometers and then from kilometers down to the meters that I want. Okay, and so again, you have to choose the route you're going to take. I am going to go ahead and turn miles into feet and feet into meters. Okay. And so up here, I have that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. And so that's what I'm going to set up here. The 1 mile will go in the denominator so the miles can cancel. The 5,280 feet will go in the numerator. And then using this bottom one, I'm now going to be able to go from feet over to the meters that I want. So the 3.28 feet is going to go in the bottom so that the feet can cancel. And the 1 meter is going to go in the top. Okay, and so now we have meters left over and minutes, which is what I wanted. So now it's a multiplication. 10 times 1 times 5,280 times 1 is 52,800. And meters is the unit left over. Over 1 times 60 times 1 times 3.28, which is 196.8. And then minutes is the leftover unit. So at that point you're going to divide. You're going to go 52,800 divided by 196.8. And you're going to get 268.293. And I'm going to go ahead and round it off at that 3. It's actually 0.29268. All repeating. But I went ahead and rounded it to 3 because that's how much room I had. Okay, so those are your conversions. It's 5 example problems. We'll go over some more tomorrow, and I hope this video is helpful.